Hey there. Right, so we are at 3 weeks. Technically 3 weeks and one day, but I didn't get a chance to do this yesterday. So 3 weeks on tea. Wow. That's not quite a milestone. Next week will be the milestone of 1 month. I'm really tired this morning because I had to get up early. It's election day, so my other half is out doing politics stuff. I won't probably see him until the wee small hours of the morning. Great. So I'm a little bit groggy and I have a bit of a headache. One of my headache triggers is not getting enough sleep. Hooray. Anyway, I was going to have a little talk. So yeah, 3 weeks. We're at 3 weeks, which is cool. In terms of how things are going, I'm still feeling a lot more balanced. I'm quite stressed at the moment, but that's an external thing because, election. Hopefully, we've got election, we've got Christmas, we've got New Year. Hopefully once all that nonsense is over, things will start looking up. I really hate this time of year, and having stupid politics on top of it just... don't even get me started about that shit. So, I'm all prepped. I voted. Everything is all good and done. Yay. And I've just gotten home from doing the school run. So, it's freezing out there. And my lungs are not happy. I have very crap lungs. But yeah, tea. So, how things are going. I'm still feeling much more balanced emotionally. I'm not bursting into tears at the drop of a hat, which is always a plus. I'm sleeping really heavily, which is pretty cool. There's still nights where I can't sleep, but I think that's more my brain being a jerk than anything else. Especially if I know I have to get up. My brain just goes da 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 da. Like the whole night is so annoying. But I am sleeping a lot heavier. Apparently I started snoring. Which is dead sexy, isn't it? My voice has dropped, according to my voice pitch app, by 30 hertz. Which, for it dropping within a week or two, is quite a bit, I reckon. It's settled at the moment. So I had a week and week 2 where my throat wasn't just scratchy, it was actually really sore. Like I'd strained my voice. It wasn't like sore throat pain, it was more like I'd been screaming all day and now my vocal cords hurt sort of pain. Which I didn't expect, because everyone always said, oh, well, you feel a bit croaky and a bit scratchy. No one said, oh, it actually hurts. So this is me telling you that when your voice drops, it might actually hurt. You might be lucky, you might be unlucky, but it might hurt. So that's one of my PSAs for the day. And so that sucked. So I had a sore throat for like a week, and then it settled. And so what has happened is that I've lost the upper register of my voice. I can't do the really high pitched sounds anymore. So my voice has dropped lower, but also the range has decreased. And you'll notice this with male and female voices, is that female voices tend to be quite rangy, so they kind of go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, right? Whereas male voices tend to be quite a lot smaller range, but also men tend to talk, well, less cis men, tend to talk in a much more monotone sort of way. They talk more like... It's really weird. You don't really notice it until you actually start listening to guys talk. Whereas women are all over the place, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think that's probably a social thing. I don't know how much is social and how much is the physical throttling of the vocal cords. So I suppose we'll see. But certainly at the moment, my voice range is still being picked up as female because I'm still within the female range. But it is dropping, so that's kind of cool. I didn't expect it to drop this soon. I kind of expected not to really see any kind of drop until at least a month in. So, but instead I got it about 2 weeks. So, hey. I'm glad that it's settled though, because now I can actually talk again without coughing fits and without feeling croaky, and yeah. I also have had, and this might be too much information, but there's our cat. But urine smells stronger and is darker, which is very funny. Wait. No, that is the same cat. Okay. We have two very identical cats, so. And also body odour, and oh god, I was not looking forward to this part, because I remembered from my first puberty how much that sucked. Because my body is very stupid, and when I went through puberty the first time, I think it didn't really know what it was doing or which way to go, so I started developing, breasts, hips, periods, but I also started growing facial hair. I grew stomach hair. My fat distributed both ways, so I got a gut, but also hips. But also I started getting what a lot of teenage boys suffer from: excessive sweat. Nice. And it took years and years and years for us to figure out a way to resolve that. And as an adult, it sort of had calmed down. But with tea and going back through puberty 2.0, electric boogaloo, it's back. And so it's not that it's not smelly so much. My body odor has changed. It's just being constantly drenched is gross. So, you get up in the morning, you put a shirt on, and halfway through the day you're just like, oh, I'm wet. It's not very pleasant. You may notice the shirt I'm wearing is actually a women's shirt today, because I've run out of t-shirts. It's really hard to dry stuff in this weather, so we're way behind on our laundry, and the kids' laundry kind of takes priority, so I'm just kind of scraping together whatever is clean right now. Typical bloody student kind of way of getting dressed, but also it's cold, so long sleeves, because I don't really have that many long sleeve shirts. So yeah, I need to kind of do a wash there, but whatever, I don't care. I'm wearing layers, so no one can see that I've got like a tight fitting women's shirt underneath. It's too hot in the house to wear my jumper, otherwise I would be way too pragmatic for that. But anyway, other changes. So I got told that my appetite would increase, but also my sex drive would increase. That hasn't happened. So my appetite has not increased. What has happened instead is that she's screaming at me. What has happened instead is that I get hungry at the same sort of times, and I eat just as much. It's just if I don't eat, the aching hunger pangs are more intense. Which is interesting. So I'm not hungrier, I just have to eat more, if that makes sense. Interestingly, also, I've lost weight, which I didn't expect. I kind of expected that fat redistribution, when it started, I don't know when that's going to start, but I sort of expected that I would get like an even bigger belly. But actually what's happened is I've lost a lot of weight in my stomach, which is awesome. I'm really happy about that. And so it kind of, it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, I've lost a lot of the often mistaken for a pregnancy belly, which is a huge relief, because there's nothing more mortifying than being asked when the baby's due when you're not pregnant. But also, the other side of that, though, is that because I've lost a lot of the belly weight, it means that my figure is very hourglass now, and a bit feminine. And so I've got this awkward thing where you look in a mirror and you look at the body and you go, yeah, it looks pretty good. But then I look at it with my head and I'm like, a bit weird. So it's sort of, yay, I look nice, but I look female. It's complicated. But anyway, so I've lost weight. And in terms of sex drive, I haven't had any increase. In fact, if anything, it's decreased. And I know, right? Which is again surprising, and I think it's just because I don't know, I just don't really care so much. It sounds awful, I know, but I don't know how much of that is just because everything's really stressful at the moment or what, but I don't know, I just don't really feel the need so much. I think also because my hormone levels are much more level, there's sort of like a level plateau rather than being all over the place like they used to be. The problem I used to have with it being all over the place is I'd have no sex drive, no sex drive, no sex drive, and then my hormones would spike and I'd have like insane sex drive, and then they'd drop again and I'd have no sex drive. And so now I'm kind of just like, you know, I don't know, it's weird. I expected that I would have a really increased sex drive, but that just hasn't happened. So yeah, didn't get an increased sex drive, didn't get an increase in appetite. My skin is not oily as well. That was the other thing that people said would happen, is my skin would become oily. It hasn't, and it's actually lovely and soft. I've got quite a lot of pimples, but there's no oil, they're just pimples. And to be frank, you know, me having pimples is not really anything new. There's this fallacy, I suppose, that when you become an adult, you stop getting pimples. It's not true. It's not true, teenagers. They keep happening. And so I don't know if these are related to the testosterone or if they're just my body going, ha 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 ha. You have to look even more like a teenager. So, go figure. In terms of the other changes, not much else has really changed this week. I mean, I don't know if I've lost some of the weight in my face. I can't really tell, and my husband's not very helpful because he's face blind, so he has no idea what I look like anyway. I mean, genuinely, he has no freaking clue. It's quite funny, actually. So, I don't know if that's true or that's just wishful thinking or if it's just me losing weight in general. I don't know. I haven't had any more hair growth, at least not that I've noticed, but then it's hard to tell because there's already quite a bit of it. I kind of grow like a little patch here and a little patch here, and then there's a big gap in the middle. It's very, very funny. And so I don't know. Weirdly, the hair on my stomach seems to be thinning. Just like, what? I don't know if it actually is or if it's just because it's getting longer. I mean, the hairs were already like this long. That's super gross, isn't it? But now they're like that long. I keep joking that I'm going to be able to braid them at some point. And I wonder if it's maybe because they're getting longer, they're getting straighter, and so they look sparser rather than actually being sparser. I don't know. But all things considered, I haven't really noticed any extra hairs. No more hairs anywhere else. You know, I've still only got like my one lone chest hair. My solitary chest hair. I haven't noticed any fat redistribution. You know, I've still got massive hips. But one of the other things that I have got now, and this is a fun side effect they don't tell you about as well, this is my second PSA, is so apparently when your hormone levels change, and this often happens after menopause or during menopause, is that you can end up with blockages in the milk ducts. And so what has happened here is that taking testosterone, of course, has changed my hormone profile, my ratio. And so as my estrogen drops and testosterone rises, it's caused that imbalance. And unfortunately, that has resulted in a blockage. And so I have got in this side a small, very sore, bruised feeling lump. And it's nothing to be concerned about, it's just a blocked duct. But it's not something I was warned would happen. And so this is me telling you that this is something that can apparently happen. Now, I asked some other guys, and one of them said, yeah, that happened to me, it resolved within a few weeks. Just keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get infected. But why do they don't tell you this? You know, you get, when you start testosterone, you get like a whole leaflet, and it's got all the side effects. It's like, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But because it's written from the perspective of a guy taking it for male things, it doesn't really tell you a lot. And even when you get the transgender one, all it really tells you is, oh, you'll get some bottom growth, and oh, your fat redistribute, and oh, your voice will drop, and you might get oily skin and pimples. They don't tell you can get breast pain. So I'm a bit peeved about that, because one of the things I always found really difficult was that when we got to about this point in my cycle, which is about 3 weeks in, I would get terrible, terrible pain from swelling and all of that. And so I would have massive, amazing tits, but so painful that even just taking my shirt off was excruciating. And it drew attention to a part of me that I'm not particularly fond of. And so having it hurting draws attention to it, and having it being specifically one of the milk ducts itself draws attention to the fact that I have milk ducts, which make me feel a bit sick. And so it's unpleasant because it's making me focus on parts of my biology I would rather disassociate from. So it doesn't hurt that much, it just kind of feels a bit bruised, but because it hurts at all, I can't ignore it, if you know what I mean. And I don't like that. I really don't like that. The other similar issue that I'm having, which I was warned about, is that when you mess around with your hormone levels and you change your hormone levels, of course you change your pH balance down there, and that can cause dryness. It can also increase your risk of thrush, and unfortunately when things get a bit dry down there, too much information, I know, it can get a bit itchy. And of course that draws attention to a part of you don't really want to acknowledge, is it? So I'm going to try to ignore bits of me that are not entirely comfortable right now, which is fun. So I've got an itch on my leg. Right. So that's, fun. But in terms of everything else, I mean, aside from I've got a headache because I'm stressed out and I didn't get enough sleep. I only got like 7 hours sleep rather than my usual 12. Aside from that, I haven't had the hormonal headaches, which is amazing because I didn't dare hope that it would actually resolve it, especially not this quickly. Because usually I get 2 different kinds of headaches. So about 14 to 16 days into my cycle, which would have been last week, I get an ovulation headache. And ovulation headache feels rather like my head is in a vice. It's like squeezing, horrible pain. I haven't gotten that at all, and that's weird. And then in the week leading up to Shark Week, I love the term Shark Week, but in the week leading up to that, I would then get a horrible eye gouging sort of pain, a much more sort of a less squeezing pain, a more stabbing pain in the eyes, in the eye sockets, and the temples, around to the back of the head, which would be a premenstrual headache. And I'm hoping I don't get that. I'm hoping I can avoid that. The headache I have today is just in my temples, so it's I didn't get enough sleep headache. I get lots of different headaches because my body's stupid. But so my neck hurts. So I haven't had those hormonal headaches, which, fingers crossed, continues, because part of the reason why I did this was to try to resolve those problems. I would be so sick all the time, and I'd go to the doctors and they do every test under the sun. They go, there's nothing wrong with you, your hormone levels are normal, everything's fine, suck it up. But obviously something wasn't fine, because estrogen was poisoning me, progesterone was freaking poisoning me. Both of them are horrible hormones, and I hate them. And so one or the other of them was causing me pain at any point, and I hated it. And I can't be on birth control because they can't give me estrogen. I'm not allowed estrogen, apparently. They gave me some as a sort of first-ditch effort to try and stop periods and stuff like that, to try and level things off. And my blood pressure spiked to such a level within 12 hours that they kind of freaked out and yelled at me to never ever take estrogen again. So it's actually on my notes that I'm not allowed estrogen, even microdoses, because this was a microdose, they're not allowed to give it to me. I'm hypersensitive to it. My body hates it. Which may explain an awful lot about my body. It absolutely hates the stuff, which is very funny to me. But it does make things difficult, because it means that it's progesterone only if I wanted any female hormones. And unfortunately for me as well, I don't react well to progesterone either. Makes me nauseated, and yeah, it's not fun. So I can't take estrogen or progesterone without horrible side effects, and yet testosterone I can take, and all I get is a sore boob. I'll take a sore boob over like the headaches and the hot flushes and the stroke, because that's the problem with your blood pressure spiking like it does for me on estrogen. Is it increased my stroke risk to unacceptable levels. They kind of couldn't touch me or anything, so like, oh my god, quite scary. So one of the sort of driving forces behind me doing this, as well as, you know, the dysphoria and all of that, was the hope that it would make me feel better physically, because as well as having the mental aspect of dysphoria, I also had a physical issue, which seemed to be a biochemical imbalance, that my body just was, I don't know, it wanted a hormone it couldn't produce, or it wanted some ratio that just could not be achieved. And that was causing massive problems. But of course none of it shows up in bloods, because all of my hormone levels were normal. But that's of course assuming that my body is normal, isn't it? And clearly my body's not. So I always sort of took a degree of comfort in, sorry, I just take my phone out of my pocket. I always took a degree of comfort in this idea that I was not fully female anyway. You know, it's not, as a teenager I used to say, you know, oh, I've got a male brain and a female body, but to be honest, the older I've gotten, the less I've believed that that's the whole truth of it. That it's not just my brain, there are bits of me that I think could have straddled that line. And so my reproductive organs formed in a specific way, and I ended up with ovaries, which of course then pumped the wrong hormone into me and caused, you know, certain changes to my skeletal structure that, you know, you're never gonna reverse. But I don't think that's the be-all and end-all of it. You know, your reproductive organs are one part of an entire body. And in my case, my entire body, well, that's a unique, special thing, isn't it? Everyone's is. And in my case, it seems to be that testosterone is exactly what it needed. And I had hoped that was the case, you know, but at the same time I didn't dare hope, because I was scared that it wouldn't work. And over the years I have had so many tests done. I have tried so many drugs. They have tried pretty much everything they can try to get me to a point where I could actually just live for the next day without just wanting to claw my own face off. And none of it worked. In fact, quite often it made things worse, because what they were doing was giving me, you know, what you'd give a cisgendered woman, because they were really reluctant to give me anything that might cause masculinization. Even though I was like, it's fine, just try it. They wouldn't. They always looked at me with pity, you know, they'd see the masculinized traits that I naturally have anyway, and they'd go, oh, poor thing, you have male pattern hysterism, and oh, you have this, and you have this, and I'd be like, yeah, and who cares? It never bothered me. It wasn't a problem. That was just how my body is, and whoop-de-freaking do. And so I think because they were looking at everything from this very narrow sort of cisgender woman sort of perspective, they never really listened to me saying, actually, you know, it's fine. I don't mind masculinization. I don't need you sitting there going, oh, we'll give you anti-androgens. I don't want anti-androgens. oh, well, we'll figure out a way to deal with that. I don't need you to figure out a way to deal with the bloody body hair. I don't mind it. It's fine. It's mine. So explaining that to someone is difficult. Now, in my case, I don't know if I am binary transgender or what. All that really matters to me is that taking testosterone seems to help my physical and my mental health. And so in my case, that was always my primary goal, was that I wanted to be well. And I do feel a lot more able to function. I feel well, I feel stronger, I feel more stable, I'm not in pain constantly, I don't get the shooting pains in my limbs, I don't get the aching, the throbbing headaches, the chest pains, the breast pain, the cramping, the hot flushes, the cold flushes, all of that nonsense that I had endured for years. I don't get it anymore. And I'm hoping that continues, because that sucked. It was absolutely horrendous. My mental health has stabilized massively as well. It's like getting a new lease on life. But saying that, it still continues to surprise me when something changes and I get, a change, so like, as my voice dropped, I noticed that I'm starting to get a little bit of a lump here, so a little bit of an Adam's apple is starting. And I noticed this in the mirror, and the joy that welled within me is, I'm getting an Adam's apple! So it's not just about health, clearly. And I suspect that when I start getting facial hair filling in, I'm going to be like, oh my god! So it's not just about my mental health, and it's not just about my physical health. I think that I am excited about changes. I just don't necessarily realise how excited I am until they happen. And then they happen and I'm like, oh, that makes me happy. I like that. Which is interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, things are going well. 3 weeks in, things are going really well. I am feeling good. And hopefully I will continue to feel good. Hopefully things will continue to improve. And yeah, but certainly from a mental standpoint, quite a lot of my dysphoria has really eased off. I feel, because a lot of my dysphoria was biochemical, was internal, I felt like I was rotting from the inside out, which is a horrible concept, but I always felt poisoned and rotting. Like I was a consciousness trapped in a corpse, It was a horrible, horrible feeling. And I think because I now have ownership over my body and control over it, and also because my health has improved and I'm not sick all the time, I feel more in control. I feel more ownership of it. Like, this is my body, and I'm not a prisoner. And I don't feel that level of discomfort in my own skin. Now, that's just a not looking in a mirror, not looking at my reflection, not acknowledging what I look like kind of level of dysphoria, which I always had this, like, crawling, not really liking existing in my shell, because it felt wrong on a visceral sort of level. In terms of mirrors, I still don't see myself as a single entity. It's weird. It's like my brain just cannot view me as one cohesive whole. It singles out aspects. So it's like those they're called exquisite corpses, where you've got a piece that's a head and a piece that's the torso and a piece that's the legs, right? And you mix and match them to make a form. That's how my brain perceives my body when I look in a mirror. And so when I try and look at it as a cohesive whole, much like those things, it looks wrong. and weird, like it's been put together from completely mismatched parts. And I'm trying to train myself to actually look at myself as a cohesive whole, but it's hard because I suppose for so many years that's how I coped, is just by disassociating from bits of me. And so it is a tricky one. And I don't know if that will ever come right. I mean, it doesn't make me uncomfortable so much, it's just weird. It's just something I've noticed that I do. I don't see myself as one thing. I'm like individual traits. And I found that I am far, far better at dealing with irritation, with grief, with things that would usually send me into huge meltdowns. I'm fine with. My emotions are very, very stable, and so any negative feeling, be it anger or sorrow or whatever, it's very short-lived. It's like jumping with a bungee cord. So prior to testosterone, something would cause me to jump or push me, and I'd just fall. And now something pushes me and I fall, but I spring back up. And so everything's kind of like flash and then better, which is probably way healthier. But is also really interesting because I'm like, who is this person who's actually able to bloody function? I can't cry. That's an interesting thing. It takes like half an hour to force like one single stylistic tear. I just can't cry out. Like, you get the emotion, you want to cry, but nothing comes out. Your eyes just refuse to cry. That's weird. So that was quite an eye-opener because, I mean, I was told about that, but at the same time I was like, yeah, of course. So, you know, guys don't cry, not because they're told not to cry. I mean, that doesn't help, but physically, testosterone interferes with your ability to cry, for some weird reason. And so, that's weird and quite funny. It amuses me anyway. It's quite hard to be upset when you're laughing at yourself because you can't cry. You're sitting there going, I want to cry, but I can't cry. And then you start laughing and then you don't feel upset anymore. So, yeah, tea has been pretty amazing. And I've rambled on for ages. I keep doing this. I really need scripts. But tea has been amazing. The very low level kind of subtle dysphoria I have has not gone away completely. But the visceral, biochemical, just thinking about existing in my own skin makes me feel sick, feeling has gone. So I've gotten rid of one of the aspects, and that was the biggest one. And so now it becomes a game of, you know, what's the next stage? You know, I've fixed one aspect, and then as my body starts to change and transform, it will become what I start fixating on. I'm assuming it's probably going to be my chest because that's the next biggest thing that freaks me out and I don't like. But it'll be interesting to see how my dysphoria starts to morph and change, because it does. It's a very fluid thing, and as you fix one thing, the other things become a bigger deal or less of a deal, and it's yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. A random aside, but when I went and voted, very, very funny, when I put my ballot paper into the box, the guy there said, "Oh, thank you, sir. Oh no, I mean ma'am." That made me laugh. Totally freaked out. Very funny. So that made me smile. I was like, no, you're right the first time. But so yeah, I'm clearly at that stage where I confuse the shit out of people, and that delights me. I like confusing people. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling and I'm going to have my water. Yeah, it's water in a mug. We don't have that many glasses. And I will see you again in a week when we're at a month and see how that goes. Maybe, I don't know, maybe something else will have changed. Who knows? We'll see. It's all very exciting, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to continue to be frank and honest about everything, because I think that there's too much coyness, I think, in the trans community of, oh, well, you know, a lot of euphemistic kind of, oh, bottom growth, oh, we're going to not really talk about that, and oh, we're not really going to talk about bathrooms, and we're not going to talk about sex, and I'm sorry, it needs to be talked about because it's important. You're not going to know it intuitively. So I'm sure we'll have fun with that as well. I'm sure that'll be entertaining. And we'll see how my dysphoria manifests and how things change as time goes on. So I mean, I'm gonna stand up because I'm gonna show you my weight loss here. See, this is my girly shit shirt. So usually this would be out like this. So I've lost a huge amount here, but you can see hourglass. Don't like it. Wish I had some more baggy t-shirts. I need to buy some more geeky as shit t-shirts. So yeah, that's that. Enjoy seeing my weird ass body, but yeah. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna finish my water, and hopefully this headache will have gone away by the time that my mother gets here. She's meant to be here soon. Well, in about an hour, to keep me company, because it's going to be a long and boring day. Boring. So yeah, I'll see you in a week when we are at 1 month. So right now we're at 3 weeks. 3 weeks on tea.